Okay, question 5. Boolean logic. Now this one kind of it's perhaps steps up the difficulty a little bit. So we've got a few interesting concepts to discuss here. First of all, what the hell is a Boolean? Well, that's a simple answer. It's either true or false. So there's a native data type in Python called Boolean, and it will take one of two values, which is true or false. Now, Python typically, if you ask it to print out a bool, it will give you a true or a false value. But actually, what it's storing underneath is a 1 or a 0, which of course really is how your entire computer works on ones and zeros. Everything's either true or false. Okay, and you can actually build up representations of anything else using Boolean. It could be, it could be a number, it could be a string, and there are complex ways of doing that we're not going to discuss today. The objective here is to take two Boolean inputs, actually not even that, it's going to take two inputs as strings, and those strings can either be yes or no, and then convert them into true or false, where yes is true and no is false, and then do some conditional statement where if both of them are true, do this. If only one of them is true or none of them are true, do this. Okay, so let's think about this as we go along. The first thing, of course, I've got to do is I've got to take in those inputs from the user. So I'm asking the user for two things. One, do they have a lab coat? So sorry, start with the ID card. Do they have an ID card? So I'm going to create a variable called ID card. Input, and I'm going to put, do you have an ID card? And I'm going to help them out a little bit by giving them their options, yes or no. Okay. Colon space. I also want to know if they have a lab coat. Input, do you have a lab coat? Yes or no. Okay, so I can get those inputs. My problem now is, how do I convert those yes or no responses into Boolean? Now I've actually forgotten how to do this. So I'm going to do something a little different this time. This is just so I can understand what I'm doing. If ever you want to just type a line of Python, then you can go down to your terminal down here and just type Python in. Okay, and that will open up a Python terminal. So I can just type any line of code in here. So for example, if I go ID card equals, I'm just going to put yes for now. That will create a variable called ID card. It will store a string yes in it. Okay. Now I want to convert that into Boolean. So I don't want it to say yes. I want it to be true or false. So I think I remember, if I do this, I'm going to reuse my variable ID card, and I'm going to assign to that the following statements. Okay, and that is going to be ID card is equal to yes. Okay, and I'll hit enter. Oh, that worked. Let me just output ID card now, see what happens. Oh, now I've got true. So now I've converted that yes into a true. So this is how I'm going to do it. Now let's explain what's gone on here. I have taken my existing variable, which at that point was the word yes stored as a string, and I've compared it to an identical string, yes. Now in that case, if something is equal to something, then that is true. So then it is returned a true value to my ID card. It's overwritten that yes that was stored in that variable originally. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to put in a little note, convert inputs into Boolean. Okay, so I'm going to use that ID card, and I'm going to do exactly what I did below. ID card equals, or double equals, yes, and lab coat equals ID card equals no. Oh, sorry, yes. It's always yes. Now let me show you what would have happened if I'd run, let's do this again, right? ID card equals yes. So I'm going to give an input of yes. If I, let's do ID card equal no this time. Okay, if I had done a no, then what will happen, oops, is this time I'll get a false. So if I'm making a comparison between the input string and the yes, if it is not yes, it's no in this case, then it will return false. So anytime the user inputs a no instead of a yes, I will store a variable false to those original variables. Okay. Now I've just got to do some logic to make sure that the user has both things. So that's pretty straightforward actually. If ID card and, so I've used an and statement there, and lab coat. So if they have both of those things, if both of those things are true, then print access granted. Oops, that'll do. Otherwise, else, print access denied. Okay, I'm just going to exit my terminal, my Python terminal, sorry, and come back to my command line. And this time when I run this, okay, do I have an ID card? Yes. Do I have a lab coat? Yes. Access denied. Interesting. So something has happened there. Aha, I can see what's happened. I've accidentally used the ID card again. And the reason why this has returned a false to lab coat is because I've already overridden the ID card with the true. And true, the Boolean, is not equal to yes, the string. So I've got to make sure I'm consistent with my variables. Lab coat. Oops. This time when I run it, yes, yes, access is granted. Let's try yes and no. Access denied. And let's also try no and yes. And now I put a sneaky space at the end of no there. Well, that's okay. It shouldn't matter. But I could have done something like yes space and then yes space, and access is denied. And that's because there's actually a hidden space at the end of my inputs here. So if you want to tidy up your inputs so that it is definitely a yes or no in here, there's a couple of things you can do to your input. I can do strip, and that'll take all of the white space either side of that. Also, you might put capitals in there, or the user might put capitals, so I'm going to make that lower as well. So I'm just going to daisy chain those methods together. Dot strip lower. Okay, so get used to doing things like this for your error trapping. It's not foolproof. You could still type any other word and then it would fail. But if I now type yes space, access is still granted. Okay. Right.